On September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country. The terrorists practiced a fringe form of Islamic extremism that has been rejected by Muslim scholars and the vast majority of Muslim clerics, a fringe movement that perverts the peaceful teaching of Islam.
But I think that when people hear the word terrorism, they think of Islam, unfortunately they associate, right away with that, and probably bombings, and they hear terrorism, they think, oh no, an airport.
Like, I listened to the president's speech and just the stuff he was talking about. A lot of it I felt like I couldn't relate to because I feel like he was kind of passing by important issues, like he was just trying to, I know that's what politics is, kind of trying to sound good.
The idea is to try to help change the Middle East. Now look, part of the reason we went into Iraq was the main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't, but he had the capacity to make weapons of mass destruction. But I also talked about the human suffering in Iraq.
I served over about 3 years overseas. 2000 was when I enlisted in the reserves. Like I said, with the idealism big in my head, I wasn't gonna go in for the money or anything. I just went for a 3x5, so there wasn't a bonus. There was no benefits towards the education that we receive now. But I got deployed at 9/11 happened, and then 2003, near the end of my deployment, I was overseas. Got extended a little bit, and when I came back around, then it was mostly humanitarian aid missions that I would be doing. And I figured I'd get into seeing another side of the war, and got the National Guard, which has more combative MOSs, that is jobs, and I figured I'd go cavalry scout. And over basically as infantry, it the job goes out the window in the time of war, and we didn't really have so much to do as scouts, so we'd be utilized as grunts.
I enlisted July 31st, 2003. I was in between my junior and senior year of high school. I was 17. My mom actually had to sign the paperwork to get me in. I was in Iraq. We got there January 2009, and then got home September 2009. There's a lot of money being dumped, like, in ridiculous places. There was some article I read. It's called Iraq for Sale. It's talking about, like, the trays, like in Taji. Like, they had stacks of, like, plates, and like each one of those plates, no matter if they sold it or not, was like $32, and some of the food that they served, I wouldn't pay $32 for here.
$40 billion a month, I heard, on munitions and whatever they need, and that's over time, that's tons and tons of money. How much does one bomb cost to shoot in? A couple $1 million? You add that up, and there's a huge part of the deficit, probably.
Yeah, and our country is supporting it without knowing what's going on. Like, I don't think a lot of people over here understand that, how many civilians are being impacted by our justification of going after these radicals, It's just, if something like that would happen on our shores over here in America, it would be a whole other story.
War is a moneymaker. And when politicians quit lining up with corporations so much and seeing the dollar signs of like what they could get with oil, what advantages they could get in some of the deals that go with sending troops overseas, and all that they need to spend money on, it's also a sense of what the war is supposed to be.
Calling it a war on terror is kind of like declaring war on high fructose corn syrup for contributing to child obesity. It's such a broad term. My thing with the media is I think that they only show the stuff that's going to sell. Like, I remember, it just kind of made me sick because, you'd watch, 8 soldiers died today, but, they only show, the good thing, or the bad things, but to them it's good.
But we're taught when we enlist not to say anything derogatory to the United States, and I believe that the media adheres to that same principle. They're not going to say anything that's going to deflate sentiments toward the troops. Anything that's coming at us pretty much that has to do with politics is probably going to be manipulated the way they want it to be manipulated, So I don't know how to consider what's coming at me through the media, in terms of, which is basically what I'm getting, is media coming at me, I like to be informed, but I know that it's probably going to be biased or, like I said, manipulated a little bit, so it's kind of hard to,
I don't know, judge something like that you don't know that much about?
Well, I think generally the media is essential, really, because at the end of the media, we wouldn't know. I mean, things travel so quickly now, and we'll instantly find out, if something, happened or attack. So that's kind of the point. They want the media to cover what they do so we can see it and have that fear in us. And I think that's one of the essential components of terrorism. And I guess the aim of terrorism is to, catch people's attention, and they have. I mean, obviously, a lot of things have changed, so they kind of succeeded in a way.
It's just kind of like I don't really know what it is to be a citizen of this country anymore, because I don't know if I agree with a lot of what's going on. And I have a professor who said that the people in power are going to put their money where their priorities are, and I don't like where we put our money, so I'm not sure if I like where our priorities are.